Good morning. Good morning, everyone. And welcome back to Shaar Habitachon, Gates of Trust. I missed you all last week, and I'm excited to be back and to study with you again in one of my favorite new books, Shaar Habitachon. So we're looking forward to seeing everyone live. And before we do that, we're going to say our chapter of Tehillim. Good morning, Francesca. How are you? Okay. Please put down if you would like us to say Tehillim for anyone specifically. A lot of power together in women learning and women studying. So please put down any names that you want us to say Tehillim. I'll give you some names that have been sent to me. Good morning, Helga. Yaakov Moshe ben Necha, Yehudis bas Sarah, Yitzchak Moshe ben Rachel Reza, Tzipora Hinda bas Rachel Miriam, Sarah bas Chana, Tzipora Hinda bas Rachel Miriam, Chana Devora bas Golda Basya, Menucha bas Emmanuel, Sarah bas Rivka, Yisrael ben Esther Golda. If there's any more names, good morning, Barb. Good morning, Rosalie. Good morning, Barb Glazel. If you want to put down any names before we say Tehillim, and definitely take a coin, put it in the tzedakah box. Gedolah tzedakah. Good morning, Elise. Boker Tov. Great to see you all. And we turn to chapter 20. You know, we are now in the month of Elul, the month of introspection. They blow the shofar every morning now in Shul, in the synagogue. And people are getting ready for Rosh Hashanah. It's the time of the year where Hashem is giving us the judgment. So it's a good time to study. It's a good time to give extra charity, by the way, and a great time to do extra davening. All right. This is the month of preparation. Hey, good morning, Kareem. Glad you found us quickly today. All right. Boker Tov. Okay. So before we say chapter Tehillim, how is everyone feeling this morning? Gorgeous August morning. We are second day of Elul. What could be better? We're getting ready for the new year, the Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. We're bringing in a new year of joy, a new year of health, a year of celebration, a year of trust. So many amazing blessings await us. Good morning, Becky. You're feeling good. All right. Let me know either by emojis. Give me a good heart if you're feeling great this morning and ready to learn Shaar Habitachon. Okay, we are going to get to chapter 20. If you know it now by heart, feel free to join. Here we go. Lamanatseach mizmor leDavid yancha Adonai biyom tzara. Yisagefcha Shem Elohei Yaakov, Yishlach Ezracha Mikodesh Umitzion Yisadeka, Yiskar Kol Menchosecha Va'olascha Yidash Nesela, Yiten Lecha Chavavecha V'chol Atzascha Yimale, Nrana B'shuasecha Oveshem Eloheinu Nidgol, Yimale Adonai Kol Mashalasecha. Ata Yidati Ki Oshia Adonai Mishicho Yaneu Mishpekotcha B'gvuras Yesha Yemino. Eila v'recha ve'ela v'asusim v'anachnu b'shem Adonai Eloheinu naskir. Hema karu v'nefolu v'anachnu kamnu v'nisodad. Adonai Hoshia HaMelech Yanenu v'yom karenu. May Hashem grant all of you a beautiful week, a great week, and a great year ahead. Oh, Becky says yesterday she went to Keva Rachel. It was a perfect way to start Elul. Of course, I can't imagine a better way to bring an Elul than going to Mame Rachel, right? Our patriarch, Rachel. Okay. I'm going to start off with a story. This story took place actually, I believe, in the early 1900s. I think it was 1911. And it's a story about a young Jewish girl from Poland. Her name was Rose Goldstein. So this is a true story. Okay? Absolutely true story. It was verified. And This is going to really lead into our topic of today in the Gates of Trust. So this young girl, Rose Goldstein, is the youngest of 9, and her parents are sending her off to the Golden Medina. Anybody know what the Golden Medina is? Okay, put in the comments if you know the Golden Medina. All right. Good morning, Azalea. Azalea in Russia. Good morning. Welcome. Good morning, Arlene. So Rose Goldstein is standing near her father right at the port in the Polish harbor, and she's about to get on a flight to America. You know, exactly, Dorit, the USA. And in those days, things were very hard. Life in Poland was very hard. There was hunger, there was poverty. And this father wanted, Arlene says, Israel, of course. Of course the Golden Medina is Israel. But many people refer to America as the land of opportunity, and that it was all full of gold. You and I know the truth. I grew up in America. It's far from the Golden Medina. It might have a lot of materialism, but it's missing a lot of spirituality, and it is not. Israel is the absolute right, correct answer. Kim, good morning. So her father wanted to send her off to America. They were relatives of theirs who lived in the East Side, the Lower East Side, very, very popular then for the Jewish people to settle. And he said to her, as she's about to board the grand boat that was taking her to America, he said to her, don't forget who you are. I know you're going to America. You're going to land where it's paved with gold. But just remember who you are. You are a Jew first. And then he said something that changed her life forever. He said, you might struggle with many of the mitzvot that you did in Poland, but remember to keep Shabbat. And then he said something really beautiful. He said, more than the Jews keep Shabbat, it's Shabbat that keeps the Jews. I don't think Rose knew what it meant. She was a very young girl, but that voice of her father remained in her head forever. She takes the long journey to America, and as she approaches the beautiful borderline of New York City, she's actually worried. Are her neighbors going to be, her cousins going to be coming to greet her? Is she going to arrive to a country where she doesn't speak the language? She looks like a Polish little girl wearing very outdated clothes. You know, who's going to be there for her? Baruch Hashem, when she arrives, she sees her family there. They embrace her, Rose, Rose, and they hug her and they look at her a little bit with funny looks. Here's a little girl who's definitely going to have her hair trimmed and a change of wardrobe. But they embraced her and brought her to their little apartment in the East Side. And she knew that when she got there, she wouldn't be going to school. She would have to get to work. Her father already warned her that you're going to have to pay towards your stay in New York, and you're going to have to go work every morning. So even though she was a very young girl, after Rose had her hair cut and she put on some new American clothing, she got herself a job at a very popular place, and many of you might have heard of this. It's called the Sweater Factory. And why this sweater factory is very, very, very popular is because there was a story that took place there, and it was written up in all the papers at the time. So Rose was given this opportunity to work in the sweater factory, and off to work she went with her little lunch bag, came back in the evening, and her family was very, very impressed with her. She was a girl with beautiful manners, she had good values, she still said her little prayers every morning, and they really, really liked having Rose around. However, in the back of Rose's head were those words from her father. Don't forget to keep the Shabbat. More than the Jews have kept Shabbat, Shabbat has kept the Jews. And Rose knew that she would not be able to go to work on Saturday. So she very, very meekly told her relatives that she won't be able to go to work, and they warned her. What do you mean? You're in America now. This isn't Poland. No one keeps Shabbat in America. What are you thinking? But Rose remembered the promise she gave her father. And so she approaches her boss and she says to her boss, I'm so sorry, but this Saturday I won't be able to come into work. And the boss says to her, listen, honey, if you don't make it to work this Saturday, don't even think of coming back to work next week. In this country, we work every single day. And so Friday, Rose woke up with tremendous trepidation because she knew she was about to lose her job. Shabbat morning, Rose's relatives tell her very, very clearly, Rose, here's your lunch, you're going to work. And Rose steps out of the house, and as she walks towards her job, she sees her father's image in her mind, his white beard, his scruffy coat, his beautiful face, his kippah on his head. And she sees him giving her his blessings. And she made a promise. She can't go back on her promise. And as she walks towards her job, she makes a detour. And she finds a bench in the Lower East Side and sits on that bench the entire Shabbat day. And as the sun begins to set and she sees the 3 stars are forming in the sky and she knows Shabbat is over, she makes her way back to towards her relatives. And she is expecting a huge commotion. I mean, she knows what they're going to say to her. She's even anticipating that they're going to throw her out of the apartment because she has no income. And she's so worried. And as she makes her way into the building, she sees her cousin John, and he comes down screaming, Rose, Rose! And she goes, oh, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. I know I disappointed you. I know that I didn't go to work. I know that the family is fuming at me. I am so sorry, but I am a Jew first. And her cousin Joe looks at her and he goes, no, Rose, you don't understand. And Rose goes, what? I know I'm fired. I know I don't have a job. I know you're angry. And he goes, no. Do you not hear what happened today in your sweater factory? And she says, what happened? And he says to her, there was an awful fire in the factory. Only 40 people survived. There was no way out of the building and people even jumped to their deaths. And Joe's voice was very, very hushed. And he was crying and he says, Rose, don't you see? Because you kept Shabbat, you survived. A fire broke out in the sweater factory and the owners had closed and locked all the doors of the escapes, which eventually was a very big lawsuit. But you, because you didn't go to work, you survived. Yes, it's true. Rose Goldstein did not go to work that day. And that is why she survived. Why am I opening this story today for our Shaar Habitachon class? It's very clear. We spoke last week about how important it is for us to realize that our income, our parnasa, comes from Hashem. And whatever Hashem decides on Rosh Hashanah, that is what you are going to make during the year. You won't make a penny more. And this is what our author of the Shaar Habitachon tells us. Rabbeinu Bachaya says like this: what is meant to be in your wallet for the coming year is all dependent on Rosh Hashanah. having trust that you will receive that income is what is the opening for receiving this amount, for receiving your income. And working on Shabbat or working in strenuous conditions is not what's going to bring you the income. It's trusting that Hashem already decided how much you're going to make. Do we have to have the hishtadlus? Do we have to make the vessel? Absolutely. But do we have to put ourselves in precarious situations to make our income? Absolutely not. So last week we spoke about material benefits when one has trust, and even a stress-free environment when one has trust. And we started working on a new part of this section of the Shaar Habitachon, and we said that when one has faith, they get immunity from the fatigue of traveling. What does that mean? Anybody have any idea? What does it mean that when you have faith in God, you will not have fatigue from traveling? So I was speaking to a gentleman who every 2 years he keeps traveling for a job, and he's getting very, very physically tired. And he said, I don't know why I have to keep traveling. And Shaar Habitachon actually addresses that. There are some people that have to work hard. They travel. They're traveling. They're schlepping their suitcases in and off planes, traveling. Maybe, there are some occupations that you could think of. Feel free to put in the comments. People that work so hard and physically it's exhausting. And you wonder, why do I have to travel so much? And so the author tells us 3 possibilities that a person has to travel and has to move for jobs. Number 1, God has it in the means that they have to struggle. Number 2, because moving takes them away from bad company. Maybe the city where they're living in now has a lot of not good neighbors and a lot of non-healthy avenues that are teaching them or giving them values that aren't appropriate. So Hashem makes them move. And the 3rd reason is because sometimes when you move, you have a shlichus in the place that you moved. You have an awesome responsibility and a new shlichus. What does shlichus mean? You have a new responsibility or mission to the place where you're moving. And that place, you think you're going there for your parnasa, for your income, but really Hashem is sending you there because you are going to have a tremendous influence on the people who live there. And I'll give you a story that happened to a chassid of the Rebbe Maharash. The Rebbe Maharash, one of the Chabad Rebbes, had a student, a chassid, who lived in a city of Plotkin. Okay, maybe it sounds like a city of Richmond Hill, okay? And he came to tell his Rebbe that unfortunately he's not making a living. So his Rebbe tells him, I want you to move to the city of Vladimir, and there you will learn your trade and you will make a lot of money. So this chassid packs up his family and they trek all the way from Plotkin to Vladimir. And there happens to be in this city, the Rebbe tells him, there's a whole population of Cantonists. Anybody ever heard of Cantonists? So Cantonists were young children, actually young Russian children, specifically Jewish children who were taken from their homes and they went to work in the Tsar's army. And the purpose of this was to take the children at a young age and indoctrinate them so that they become very faithful to the Russian Tsar and they become inculcated and in fact brainwashed to serve the Russian army. And if you take them when they're young, they become very connected and become so brainwashed that by the time they go back to their families, they are very, very strong Russian citizens. But what happened was many of these Jewish children lost their Yiddishkeit. They lost their Judaism because they were taken away at such a young age. They didn't really have their parents to teach them about Judaism. This community of Vladimir had a lot of children that had grown up and become the population of Vladimir, and they were unfortunately very uneducated Jews. So the Rebbe tells this man, you're going there for a job, but just remember a lot of Cantonists live there. 2 years later, this chassid comes to visit the Rebbe Maharash, and he says to him, I'm doing great. My income is a tremendous success. Thanks to your blessings, Vladimir has been wonderful. So the Rebbe Maharash says to him, tell me, how are the Cantonists doing in Vladimir? He says, Rebbe, listen, I'm busy day and night. I'm working, I'm building up a business. I mean, I do go to synagogue there and I help out with the prayers and I blow the shofar in the month of Elul, but I mean, I don't really have time for Cantonists. So the Rebbe says to him like this, you think you moved from Plotsk to Vladimir because Hashem couldn't give you an income in Plotsk? He starts to laugh. He goes, you went to Vladimir because you had a shlichus in Vladimir. You had Cantonists that you were supposed to teach Judaism. You're supposed to give them the beauty of Yiddishkeit. You honestly think that the God who created this world and is in charge of each one of our incomes can't give you an income in Plotsk? He had to get your whole family to move all the way to Vladimir? Where is your bitachon? Where is your trust? And that's what each one of us has to say. We are where we are, and Hashem can give us our income right here. And for the women that are watching, I need to teach you something very crucial in relationships. So we're going to digress a little bit from the Shaar Habitachon right now. You know that, I'm going to go for a second here. So Dorit says, your husband's a family doctor, not travel, but very intense. So Dorit, your husband should know one thing, that it's not his heavy working that's giving him his parnasa. His parnasa is already preordained. And he has to work the job of a doctor, the commitment, the selflessness, the devotion, but he doesn't have to stress himself in such a way that he's depleted. Because his parnasa is not going to come if he works more extraneously and more heavily. He has to do his job, but he has to know that he has to still give his time for his davening, for his learning, for his family time. His parnasa will still come in regardless. His bitachon should be that his money is coming from Hashem, and his medical degree and his doctor degree is the means to get the parnasa. But the parnasa is coming from Hashem. But what I want to tell women, all of you, is like this. And for those women who are working, which is most of us as well, your husbands should know this as well. But really, this message is for husbands. We know that when Adam and Eve were in Gan Eden, and they unfortunately ate from the tree of knowledge, right? God told them not to eat from the tree of knowledge. And Eve was coerced or convinced by the snake to just try it. And she took a bite. We don't know from the apple, some say it's a fig. She took a bite of the fruit. And at that moment, after she shared it with her husband, Adam, they realized they did something wrong. And the Torah says they realized they were naked and they made a fig leaf to cover their private space, and then they hid. When God found them and asked them, Ayeka, where are you? Then God punished them. And listen to the punishment that God gave Adam and Eve that we still today are suffering with. God gave Adam, and if you know the answer for this, you can put it into the comments. What was Adam's punishment and what was Chava's punishment? What was Adam's and what was Eve's punishment? If anybody knows, feel free to put it down here. I'll give you a few seconds to put it in the comments. Adam's punishment was that he was going to have to bring in the money into his household. He was going to have to be the breadwinner. Exactly. He was going to have to work hard through sweat and tears. He was going to have to worry about bringing in a parnasa for his family. Yes, women today, many women go out to work. Nevertheless, the responsibility is innately the man. And daigas haparnasa, the worry of bringing an income, is solely a man's responsibility. A woman, thank you Dorit and thank you Ava, a woman has the pain of labor pain. Thank you Becky. A woman has the agony and the pain of having children. Whether it's, the labor pains, whether it's the pregnancy pains, whatever comes along with having beautiful children, that pain, the contractions, we can say as we're breathing in and breathing out, you breathe in and you go, thank you, Chava. Okay? Thank you, Chava. You ate the fruit and I have to suffer with contractions. I have to have 10 hours of labor pains because of you. But that's the reality. And the Chumash tells it us very clearly. It's because of the sin of the Garden of Eden, these two punishments came into fruition. But what that means, and what I want to focus on today is, because a man has daigas haparnasa, because a man has the worries of the income, it sits on their heart. And what a wife can do is, she has to give a healthy sense of self-esteem to her husband. She has to give her husband the confidence that she knows and she's confident that he will bring in a parnasa, and she has to thank him. And you don't know the wonders that it does in a marriage when a woman thanks her husband daily for working hard and bringing in an income. Because those words are soothing to what he knows are his responsibilities to bring in an income and support his family. And when a woman shares that confidence and appreciation with her husband, she is instilling within him bitachon. And she has to use the words and say to him, honey, I know you're working hard for the family, but you and I have faith that God will give you all the income that you need, because God is in charge. And when a woman doesn't stress about, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay the electric bill? How am I going to pay the mortgage bill? What am I going to do with the credit card? How come there's never money in the bank? Why is the my credit card not allowing me to pay for my groceries? Why am I, that rhetoric is not only humiliating to a husband, but it knocks the wind out of him. It reminds him that he is a loser and he can't bring bread on the table. And even if he is, but these worries and these verbal pressures from his wife depletes him, and then his bitachon begins to dwindle. So our job as women is, because we as women innately have more trust in Hashem. We are more spiritually connected to godliness. That is what Kabbalah tells us about the women. So when we have bitachon, it's our job to relay it to our spouse and really believe it when you say to him, Dovie or Johnny, yes, you're working hard and right now it doesn't look like it's going anywhere, but I know you're going to make it. Let's believe together that parnasa comes from God, that the blessings of a good income comes from Hashem. And it's not the right job or not the right employer or not the right suit or not the right social skills. All those things help. But at the end of the day, Shaar Habitachon teaches you that when you know your income and the source of it is Hashem, Hashem opens up possibilities and He makes opportunities for you that you never thought possible. And you think you have to run from Plotkin to Vladimir because your job isn't good here and you have to keep stressing out of it and you're tossing and turning all night. Stop the tossing and turning. Daven more. Say more Tehillim. Say another chapter Tehillim for your husband. And in your mind, remember, breathe in bitachon, breathe out anxiety. Allow bitachon to penetrate your entire being. And breathe out that anxiety because you know you are so clear. And I want to give you a little analogy. And this was what I opened up today on the cover of today's class. I said, I'm sitting on a plane and suddenly there's tremendous turbulence. The plane is rocking from side to side. The lights are blinking. The drinks are flying. The luggage is all over the place. The stewardesses are panicking. And everybody quickly starts to shout out, oh God, oh God. And the Jews say Shema Yisrael. And every other nationality prays to their God. And people are putting on their seatbelts and they're holding on to loved ones. And then the masks fall down. And there's one little boy that's sitting on the plane. And he doesn't look worried the least bit. In fact, he's still playing on his computer game. And everyone around is screaming and shouting and praying and tightening their seatbelt. But this little boy is not worried. Karine, you're not worried, okay. And after the turbulence dies down, and the stewardess is back up serving drinks, the two people on the row of this little child, they turn to him and they go, tell us, kid, why in the world were you not worried? Why weren't you fearful? Why were you not destroyed? You were sitting and playing your game as if you were lying on a beach. And the little boy says, I wasn't worried because my father is the pilot. My father is the pilot. Why are we worried when there's turbulence in our lives? When suddenly the boat begins to shake or the flight begins to take wind? Why are we worried? Who's driving? Who's flying? Who's navigating the ship? Your Father. Hashem. Hashem doesn't care about you more than anyone in the world? Are you doubtful that Hashem is thinking about you? Why would you be doubtful? I want to see some of your comments here. Why would people be doubtful? And I get this from people. They go, Goldie, well, you have bitachon. You have faith. You know Hashem will provide, but I can't trust. Why can't you trust? Why are there some people that don't trust that God will provide? Anybody? Put it down here in your comments. Some people think, okay, my prayer isn't helping, so I better start worrying. Okay, so I'm praying, it didn't help, so I'm going to stop praying and I'll start worrying. Okay, Barb, that's interesting, because there are more important people and matters to tend to. So in other words, I'm just a little Goldie or I'm a little Dorit. So in Hashem's big world, there are much more important people. There's Pierre Trudeau and there's his son who's running our country, right? We have big people in Israel that are running the government. They're much more important than us. Bad things happen to the best people. Oh, so we're expecting bad to happen, right? Or we don't see satisfaction right away. So we think my prayer is not working. I'm not such a good person, or I am such a good person. And because I'm so good, clearly bad things are going to happen. So my friends who are learning Shaar Habitachon with me, I'm clearly not getting through. Hashem is, let's see over here. Liba says, by accepting what's happening is Bashert, beautiful. not easy to trust during challenging times. Right. So Rosalie, this book was written specifically during challenging times. To have bitachon while you're sitting on a beach in Hawaii and you're drinking your pina colada, that's no big deal to feel good. I want to feel carefree and confident right here in Toronto when I am working to get my school together. I'm still struggling to get my teachers. I got to organize COVID rules, and there's a lot of stuff going on. We're getting our calendar out. There are families that need our help. This is when bitachon is a challenge. But, my dear friends, we are Hashem's children. And a child instinctively trusts their parent more than anyone else in the world. And you know that analogy of, and I've said it 1,000 times, that when a mother has to take her child in to get the shot, and the child knows that the doctor's coming out with a needle, and he is screaming, and he holds on to his mother, but the mother puts him on the doctor's table. And the doctor is coming, and the child is so shocked. How is my mother, the woman that I love, how is she putting me there to get the shot? She's allowing me to get hurt. But after the shot, the child goes back to the mother because the child knows my mother is still my source of comfort. Even if sometimes there's a challenge, and even if we get the shot, we still turn to Hashem. We know that Hashem is doing it only for our best. Like the mother gave the baby that TB test, or that booster, or that MMR, it's for the child's best. So even if there is turbulence in our lives, which will happen because we are in Golus, just hold on tight and turn your eyes to Hashem and say, Hashem, I'm trusting you. You will get me out of this turbulence. I don't for 1 second lose trust. I might cry from the pain. I'm going to cry from pain from that boo-boo I got as a 2-year-old, but I know Hashem, that it's you that I will trust. And you, and only you, have my best interests. And even if I'm little Goldie here in Thornhill, and you have much bigger people to worry about, and much better people that are great teachers and masters and Kabbalists and great benefactors, and they deserve, no. Let me ask you as mothers, how many of you have more than one child? Give me a thumbs up. How many of you have more than one child? All right, I see one of you. A few of you. Okay. Okay, so we have a lot of us that have more than one child. Okay, having said that, do you love one child? Will you help one child out of turbulence more than the other? Because maybe one of them has a better career, or one of them is prettier, or one of them is kinder, one of them has a better persona or personality. Would you, if all your children were in a boat that's shaking, would you go out for the one that gets better marks at school? Are you kidding me? Never. You love your children all equally. Equally, because you are a mom and you love your children exactly the same. And that is the way it is with our God. Hashem is Avinu Malkeinu. He is my Father. And I know that my Father, who's piloting this plane, will never, ever, ever allow me to be hurt. And I trust in him. And we spoke about this last week. Becky, funny. We spoke about this last week. We said that sometimes we get caught up and we don't see Hashem's presence right now. But Hashem is still holding our hands. That turbulence is meant for us. Ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu ba b'trunya b'Yosef. Hashem only gives you what you can handle. And those challenges are meant for you, but Hashem is still holding your hand. Just like you held your child's hand when he got that shot. right? You held your child's hand. You were while he was getting the shot. Were you not holding his hand? Yes, you were, because you are his mom. Hashem is holding our hand throughout. It's when we push away our mother, push away the parent, scream and get the parent out of sight, then we're left alone. And then we have to fend for ourselves. Shaar Habitachon is teaching us, you don't have to fend for yourself. Give up your anxiety, your worry, your fearsomeness. Give it up. There's a funny joke about this guy who couldn't sleep at night. He owed his neighbor $10,000. And every night, the wife was trying to fall asleep, and this guy was pacing back and forth, all night. He's pacing the floor. Finally, his wife wakes up and she says to him, Sean, this is insane. I can't sleep. Your pacing is driving me crazy. He says, what should I do? I owe Moshe $10,000. And I can't fall asleep. I owe him the money. Moshe happened to be the neighbor right across in the building. So the wife gets up, opens the window, and she screams out, Moshe! It's 2 a.m. Moshe comes to the window, picks up the window, and he says, what in the world are you screaming now? It's 2 a.m. Why are you waking up the whole neighborhood? So this wife says, Moshe, my husband owes you $10,000? He's not giving it to you. She puts down the window and she says to her husband, now go to sleep and let Moshe pace up and down the floor in his house. It's a joke. But there's an idea in that I want to share. If we let go and let God, and that's the expression I want to conclude our class with tonight. Let go and let God. Let Hashem run your life. Do your job, do it well. But come home and don't stress. Just give it up to Hashem and know that He's got your back. There's a beautiful song from Tehillim, and it goes, and the English is like this. Only to God should you hope, my soul, for my hope is from Him. And the words are in Hebrew like this. Ach lelokim domi nafshi ki mimenu tikvati. This song, which I'm not going to continue singing, is a beautiful, beautiful song. And it's actually sung a lot by Chabad Chassidim. It's crying out to Hashem and saying, Hashem, we know that we only have Habitachon in you. And we have time to pray, and we have time to daven, and we have time to share, and we have time to take care of others, because we know that you have our best interests in mind. You care about me as your child, and I will do whatever I need to be a good child to you, which means the mitzvahs, having time for charity, having time for classes, having time for sharing, hachnasas orchem, bikor cholim, hachnasas kala, taking care of the poor and the needy. When we do all those things, Hashem says, whoa, my kid's busy doing what they're doing for me. They're trying to follow the 613 mitzvahs. I'm going to make sure they don't have to worry about a parnasa, and they don't have to worry about an income. There are a lot of people that make a lot of money, but they're stressed all day. They don't even enjoy their money. They're stressed all day with all their finances and all their stocks and all their companies and all their employees. And this one's lying and this one's cheating. They might have a lot of money, but they're not having menuchas hanefesh. We trust in Hashem to have menuchas hanefesh. Wishing you all a beautiful year, a beautiful week. See you next Tuesday.